Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Mirage Knight deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is the ultimate friendship deck between Yugi and Joey, because this deck plays Dark Magician and Flame Swordsman cards to make one awesome deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name scratched in every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we've been playing a single copy of Mirage Knight. This card is an amazing card to be able to base a deck around because it has a really cool ability that it cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except with Dark Flare Knight's effect. And when this card battles another monster during damage calculation, increase the attack of this card by the original attack of the opponent's monster. Meaning this card is going to swing in absolutely massive. Also, during the end phase, after this card was involved in a battle, banish this card, which is a pretty cool effect that you'll actually banish this card off the field. We then play a single copy of Mirage Swordsman. Mirage Swordsman is really good as a one-of in the build because this card is actually a retrain of Mirage Knight. This card has the ability if a face-up fire fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand or your grave. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy both battling monsters. And if this card is destroyed by battle or another card's effect, you get to special summon a level 7 or lower monster that is a Flame Swordsman or mentions it from your deck or your extract, which is a really cool ability. This card also replaces itself with another monster. We then play 3 copies of Fighting Flame Swordsman. Fighting Flame Swordsman is definitely a 3 out of the build because this card is full combo. It has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add a spell or trap card that mentions Flame Swordsman from your deck to your hand. Meaning this card will search out your copy of Flame Swords Realm directly from your deck when it's summoned to your side of the field. It also has the ability to can send a Flame Swordsman or a monster that mentions it from your deck or extract to the graveyard if this card is sent to the graveyard, which is a great ability to send your copy of Salamandra, the Flying Flame Dragon, from your deck to the grave if this card does touch the grave, which is why we play 2 copies of Salamandra in the deck. Salamandra is a definite 2-of to be able to play because this card is ability when this card is equipped to a Flame Swordsman or a monster that mentions it, the equipped monster gains 700 attack, which is a really awesome effect. And if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target a warrior monster you control and equip this monster to that monster you control as an equipped spell. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Salamandra spell or trap from your deck to your hand, meaning this card will search out Salamandra Fusion directly from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of the Ultimate Wizard in terms of attack and defense, and that's going to be 2 copies of the Dark Magician. Dark Magician is definitely a 2-of in the build because this card helps us out to go in for a bunch of different fusion plays like Dark Flare Knight. We then play a single copy of the Dark Magician Girl. Dark Magician Girl is really good as a 1-of in the build just for combos, so we can go in for the Dark Magicians. We then play a single copy of Timaeus the United Dragon. Timaeus is basically like a walking polymerization for the deck, and it's just a really cool card to help us go in for our fusion plays. We then play 3 copies of Magician Souls. Magician Souls is definitely a 3-of in the build and just helps out so much because this card has the ability to, when it's on your field, you can send up to 2 spells and traps from your hand or your field to the grave to draw that many cards. And if this card is in your hand, you can actually send a level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the grave to either special summon this card or special summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard, which is what you're usually going to send to the graveyard to actually use this card's effect. We then play 2 copies of Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod is really good as a 2-of in the build because this card is ability when it's normal summon, you get to add a spell or trap card from your deck to your hand that specifically has Dark Magician in its text, which is a great effect to get the exact card that you need. But you only need 2 copies of this card because we can search it with Illusion of Chaos, and we usually want to summon out Fighting Flame Swordsman as our normal summon. We then play 2 copies of Illusion of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos is a definite 2-of in the deck because this card can actually search out Magician Souls or your copy of Magician Rod, which is such a cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the build, just to stop the opponent from touching the deck. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is definitely a 1-of in the build to be able to get to her copy of Fighting Flame Swordsman. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is also really good in the deck as a 1-of to help us summon out a Flame Swordsman from our extra deck. We then play a single copy of Magician's Salvation. Magician's Salvation is definitely a 1-of to be able to work with our Dark Magician cards, because when this card is activated, you get to set an Eternal Soul directly from your deck. And if you normally special summon out a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl, you can target that monster and then special summon a monster with a different name between Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl to your side of the field from your grave, meaning you're always going to have both of them out on your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Salamandra Fusion. This card helps us go in for a bunch of different fusion plays, even helping us go in for our Ultimate Flame Swordsman or our Dark Flare Knight. This card has the ability to equip only to a Fire Warrior monster, and it gains 700 attack points. And if the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can destroy this card instead. And then also, while this card is equipped to a fusion monster that you control, you can send this card and the equipped monster to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Flame Swordsman or a fusion monster that mentions it from your extract. And it is treated as a fusion summon, which is a great ability to be able to summon out your copy of Dark Flare Knight or Ultimate Flame Swordsman. We then play 2 copies of Flame Swords Realm. Flame Swords Realm is definitely a 2-of in the build, and how we summon out our original Flame Swordsman off this card's ability, that your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal summon a Fire Warrior monster, and once per turn, you can send a monster from your hand or face her from field to graveyard to be able to special summon a Flame Swordsman from your extract, and this is treated as a fusion summon, which is a really cool ability to send Fighting Flame Swordsman to the graveyard, summon out Flame Swordsman, then use your copy of your Fighting Flame Swordsman effect. Since it did touch the grave, you can send a copy of Salamandra, the Fighting Flame Dragon, directly from your deck to the grave to get its effect to go off to search out Salamandra Fusion, which is such a cool ability. This card also has a really cool effect that once per turn, when a monster declares an attack, you can actually target a warrior monster you control, and until the end of this turn, it loses exactly 1,000 attack points, but all other monsters you control gain 1,000 attack points, which is a great effect to help you go in for game. We then play 3 copies of Fighting Flame Sword. Fighting Flame Sword is really good as a 3-of in the build, because this card is basically a Rhoda for the deck that lets you add 1 card from your deck to your hand that mentions Flame Swordsman except a copy of a Fighting Flame Sword, but it will let you add a copy of Fighting Flame Swordsman directly from your deck to your hand, basically being the Rhoda for the deck. It also has 2 other effects, but we usually just use it for that Rhoda ability. We then play 2 copies of Secrets of Dark Magic. Secrets of Dark Magic is definitely a 2-of in the build, because this card helps out a lot to help us go in for our Dark Magician fusion monsters, and it's just an amazing 2-of in the build. We then play 2 copies of Dark Magical Circle. Dark Magical Circle is really cool in the deck for consistency, because this card has the ability, when it's activated, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then reveal a Dark Magician or a Spell Trap card that is specifically listed the card Dark Magician in its text among those cards, and add it to your hand, and then place the rest on top of your deck in any order. And if a Dark Magician is normal or special summon, you get to target one of your opponent's cards that they control and then banish it, which is a really cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Soul Servant. Soul Servant is definitely a 3-of to play alongside our copy of Dark Magical Circle, because you can actually activate Dark Magical Circle as Chain Link 1, and then chain Soul Servant to put the exact card you want on top of your deck to make sure that you're going to get to it, which is so cool. As this card lets you place 1 card on top of your deck from your hand, deck, or graveyard that is Dark Magician or mentions Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, except a copy of Soul Servant. Also, during your main phase, you can banish this card from the grave to draw cards equal to the number of Paladinian monsters Dark Magician and or Dark Magician Girl with different name on the field or in the graveyard, meaning you can get a draw 2 off this card's ability in this deck. So, that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Salamandra with Chain. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck that lets you target a fire monster on the field and equip this card as an equip card that gives it 700 attack. Then you can change one effect monster on the field to face down defense position, letting this card basically be a Book of Moon and a boost for one of your monsters. This card also has a really cool ability that you can banish this card from the graveyard to fusion summon a fire warrior or dragon fusion monster from your extract by shuffling its materials from your hand, field, or graveyard back in the deck, but destroy it during the end phase, which is a crazy powerful effect to help you go for a fusion play. We then play 2 copies of Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul is really good as a 2-of in the deck because this card lets you special summon a Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard once per turn, and every Dark Magician in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. The only downside of this card is if this face-up card leaves the field, you destroy all monsters that you control, which is a big downside of this card, but it's totally fine to be able to get Dark Magician out on your side of the field. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Dark Flare Knight. Dark Flare Knight is such a nostalgic card, and we're going to be playing 2 copies in this build. This card is really any damage that the controller of this card would take from battles involving this card becomes 0, meaning we take no battle damage from battles involving this card, but our opponent still does, which is really cool. And when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard as a result of battle, you get to special summon a Mirage Knight from your hand or your deck to your side of the field, which is a crazy powerful effect to instantly get Mirage Knight on your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Ultimate Flame Swordsman. Ultimate Flame Swordsman is a really cool card to be able to summon because this card takes a copy of a Flame Swordsman and a Fighting Flame Dragon to be able to make, but you can summon it off your copy of your Salamandra Fusions effect. This card really lets you target a monster that your opponent controls and destroy it, and if you do, inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. And it's a quick effect if this card is equipped with an equip card. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles, you can double this card's attack until the end of the turn, and if you do, destroy it during the end of this turn. But usually when you do that, you're probably going in for game. We then play 2 copies of the original Flame Swordsman. This card is just an amazing combo piece to help us go for our copy of Dark Flare Knight or Ultimate Flame Swordsman. We then play a single copy of Fighting Flame Dragon. This card is a really awesome 1-of in the deck, but you really only need a single copy of this card. You usually don't summon it all that often, but it's still a really good card to be able to play in the build because you can equip it to your monsters, which is really awesome about this card. We then play a single copy of the Dark Magicians. The Dark Magicians is just a really good 1-of in the deck that helps us draw more cards because once per turn, if a spell or trap card or effect is activated, except during the damage step, you can draw a card. If it's a spell or trap, you get to set it to your side of the field. If it's a trap or a quick play spell, you can activate it this turn. And if this card is destroyed, you get to special summon both a Dark Magician and a Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, and or graveyard, which is a crazy powerful effect. This card basically defuses back into the original monsters and summons them to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. This card is very easy to summon in this build. It's just an insane boss monster that has basically the effect that it cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. It's a walking negate by discarding a card. It'll go by 1,000 if it does negate something, and it can pop monsters on the field and do burn damage to your opponent equal to those monsters' attack points, which is just a crazy powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. This card protects your back row and also becomes Dark Magician while on the field of the graveyard, which is a crazy awesome effect, so you can bring it back with your copy of Eternal Soul. We then play a single copy of Dark Cavalry. Dark Cavalry is great as a 1-of in this build because it does require a Dark Magician plus any warrior monster to make this card, and we play a lot of warrior monsters in the deck. This card gains 100 attack for each spell or trap card on the field and in the graveyards, and if this card attacks a defensive monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent, and when a card effect is activated that targets a card on the field, quick effect, you can discard a card and negate the activation if you do destroy it, which is a really good ability. We then play a single copy of Swarm Ship. Swarm Ship is just a good 1-of in the deck to be able to work with our copy of Promethean Princess. Since we are playing so many fire monsters in the deck, this just works really well in this build to be able to use. I absolutely love how easy it is to be able to use the Flame Princess in the deck, and it's just really, really good. We then play a single copy of the Fire Charmer because it helps us link climb into our copy of our Fire Princess, and then do a copy of the Swarm Ship because if our opponent does Ash us, we can make this card very easy easily, and then step into a copy of the Promethean Princess, and then into a copy of the Swarm Ship, which is just insane. We can play a single copy of Artemis. Artemis is just really good in the deck overall as a 1-up to link away your copy of Magician's Rod, so you can get it back later. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Mirage Knight deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's so fun to be able to play. And it's insane how easy it is to summon Mirage Knight out to your side of the field and just go in for game. I absolutely love this deck, and it's just really cool to be able to make a Yugi-Joey combo deck. So, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.